So today Konami decided to drop a bit of a special pack, an anime pack, containing a bunch of support for a bunch of the anime archetypes, things like Blackluster Soldier, your Red Eyes, your Utopia, and of course, the God cards, specifically Obelisk the Tormentor. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but if you guys were expecting this pack to be sort of a top tier meta-relevant defining sort of a pack, you're definitely in the wrong place. This pack was aimed to be fun and release some fun cards for people that like playing the more anime-focused deck list. But that being said, that doesn't mean all the cards in here were bad. Specifically, the Obelisk the Tormentor spell card is really good. So people seem to not believe me when I say that. So I decided to just prove it to you all instead, by taking this spell card and stuffing it in the most competitive variation of God card deck list I could possibly build. Taking that deck list onto the Master Ranks ladder and just ass blasting a bunch of meta slaves and showing you guys just how good the God cards can be. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video or want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 35% of you watching this are even subscribed to the channel, means 65% of you haven't even subscribed yet. So if you guys are enjoying this content and will see more videos just like this in the future, or more deck lists from me in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's get into this deck list. So today's deck list is obviously going to be Egyptian god Numeron, which in my opinion is the only competitive way to actually play the god cards, because god cards, they still suck. Even with the new support, the deck list, it's just no good. You can't really play it by itself if you're expecting to actually climb and win games on the ladder, which is kind of the goal of this video, to show you guys an actual competitive-ish sort of way where you can play the god cards and actually expect to climb with them. I had a really decent win rate with this deck list. I think I played 9 games with it and won 7 of them, which is quite a decent win rate, especially in Master, so I thought this deck list was really goddamn good. I wanted to share it with you guys. So the reason you want to play these two archetypes together is because they actually have a lot of synergy with each other, the main bit of synergy being pretty obvious. Your field spell for Numeron, obviously as you guys know, summons out a bunch of Numeron monsters as part of a special summon. You can then use those monsters, because it's just a bunch of special summon monsters on the field, to tribute summon out one of your god cards, specifically Ra, because Ra has a pretty good combo with this deck list, where especially if you use the Ancient Chant to search for it, activate the Ancient Chant in the graveyard to make sure when you normal summon Ra it gains boosted attack, this card just then becomes an outright OTK if your opponent's field is empty, which is pretty easy if you've got things like lightning storms or whatever else to tribute out your opponent's stuff, making it so that this deck by itself is generally pretty good in combination with Ra. But now, we have Obelisk as well, thanks to one of the brand new cards being the Breaking Ruin God, which is a really strong card in a vacuum. The activation of this card or its effects cannot be negated, nor can its effects be negated. Spin or summon Obelisk the Tormentor from your hand or graveyard, and if you do, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effects this turn. If you tribute 2 or more monsters you control at the same time, which is obviously Obelisk's effect, to activate your card or effect, while you control Obelisk the Tormentor, you can banish this card from your graveyard, banish all monsters in your opponent's graveyard, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each. Now, I'm going to be honest, this second effect you're not going to be using very often, especially in this list. For this list specifically, you're just using it to summon out a 4000 attack unaffected beat stick to then beat over your opponent's stuff, which comes in handy quite regularly, as you'll see during the gameplay, because there's plenty of times your opponent will summon a high attack monster, and you don't want to do the normal standard Numeron thing of just swing your monsters into it because you take way too much damage, or even they just summon a monster you cannot get through for whatever reason, and this thing just comes in handy so often. Yeah, it's actually just a really good card. Now as for the rest of the deck list, it's obviously just your typical Numeron god cardy sort of stuff, so most of you guys probably know what it all does by now, but I will give a brief shout out to a couple of the cards in here you might not have seen before, starting with Card of the Soul. This card allows you to look at your deck and add a card from your deck to your hand which has attack stats and defense stats when added up equal to your life points. So essentially Obelisk has 4000 attack, 4000 defense, you start with 8000 life points, generally, this card can search for Obelisk, which is the main reason we're using it. Sometimes you get unlucky and your opponent's playing Sword Soul or something, they burn you for like 1200 damage on their first turn, and then this card doesn't work, but in most matchups you can just search for Obelisk, which is why we're playing it, because it makes this deck list a hell of a lot more consistent when you're taking into account we're playing the Breaking Ruin God, and we're also playing Soul Crossing, which if you guys don't know, this card, just during the main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summons out one Divine Beast monster, and it can use your opponent's field or your field for doing so. So you can tribute 3 cards from your opponent's field, slam down on one of your big god cards, and then just lethal your opponent from there. So yeah, really good card, and this card makes the deck list a lot more consistent. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the deck list portion of the video. The rest of the video will be gameplay showcasing the deck list in action, and without further ado, let's jump into some gameplay. Alright, so today I've got 6 replays to share with you guys. Now obviously of the 6 replays, I can't show just only God card gameplay because it's a God card and Numeron deck list. So about half of these are going to be God card, half of them are going to be Numeron, and some of them are going to be a mix of both of them together. Because the whole point of this deck list was to showcase a competitive-ish sort of way to play God cards, since they are a pretty crappy sort of archetype, but just trying to give you a competitive way to play it so you can actually play these cards and climb the ladder at the same time. Because as you can see, I started Master 5, ended at Master 4, and I'll just briefly show you the match history actually, because I think I played 9 games of the deck list, and of the 9 games, I think I won 7 of them. Let me have a look. Yeah, so I started here somewhere, as you can see, 29th August, all the way up to here, and only lost 2 games, so it did a lot better than I thought it would do. To be fair, a lot of the matches were against Kashtira, which also isn't the greatest deck list. I think people just play it because it's sort of flavor of the month fun. So anyways, let's jump into these replays, and we'll start with the banger one first, because you guys will love this replay. This one was peak content right here. Pure God card gameplay, actually. Yes, this is a Kashtira player who did a lot more than just standard Kashtira-y stuff, but you'll see. Alright. So I started with Maxx, which a lot of these replays, I think 3 of the replays actually opened this card, so pretty lucky on my front. Activate Maxx in response to his thing, of course, to get an extra draw. And I think he only does one other summon after this. He just summons the standard Kashtira monster, a Shangri-La. Alright. Summons out another card. Summon down another one, and how very nice of him to set up an exactly 3 monsters to just tribute summon off with a Soul Crossing. I could have tried doing other stuff here first, like summon out the Planet Pathfinder, banish it, grab the Numeron thingy, and then just do some Numeron stuff first, because obviously you can't use the Numeron field spell when you have a monster on field, so I probably should have done, maybe tried to do some of that first. At bare minimum, I probably should have Lightning Storm to get rid of this trap card, but I don't know, I got too excited. I saw 3 monsters with no negate on field, I was like, oh, juicy, and yeah, distributed them off. Definitely not the right play here, but whatever. I'll just set my cards and pass. Hit him for 4k and pass. Alright. Suns out his dude, banishes a card. This was a terrible droplet. I misplayed so badly this game, I didn't deserve to win. I droplet this card. In hindsight, this was an awful thing, because you can just bring back the dude that searches the spell card and keep going. So it was awful. I waited so long this droplet too, because I was just thinking, but I don't know. It was bad. Should've just saved it for one of these big Xyz monsters, because Obelisk, by the way, is untargetable for you guys that don't know. So this deck would have a very hard time trying to out this with standard sort of Kashtira means. Alright, but then he summons an Auroradon. I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be, oh sorry, a Tomahawk, which goes into the Auroradon, of course. And I'm like, oh shit, I've messed up big time. There is no shot this guy can't deal with this field. So he summons out his Auroradon. This is the cringiest way to play Kashtira, by the way. If you're gonna play Kashtira, don't play Auroradon combo. Alright, Ekam Beast, summoning out the Axel Synchron, does a bunch of stuff and ends up with the stuff. I don't know. You've seen this kind of gameplay before. Baron to floor. Jet Synchron discarding, summoning back the tuner. These two become the Cupid Pitch. Changes the levels, then you can end on a copy of Borreload, who's actually able to out the Obelisk. Because again, this card's untargetable, so Baron can't even hit this thing. Thank God I drew 2 of these, though. Thank God. Now my opponent's going to go for, because apparently he opened that card as well, a Colossus. Baron de Floor's going to pop 1 of these, but thankfully I have 2 of them. Battle phase swings in, and then pass the turn. I'm not sure if, I'm not sure why there had to be a pass here. Maybe he couldn't do another attack or something. I'm not actually sure why. Either way, he didn't swing in. Maybe he was scared of a drowning or something. I don't know. Maybe he's just a paid actor. Alright, so I immediately try to go to the battle phase, because this means he cannot use this IP Masquerader in response, which was the only way he survives here, because he needs to somehow get all the monsters off the field to try to get something on the field that won't die to the Obelisk attack. Because this thing, it cannot be negated, and its effects, yeah, this thing just cannot be negated. So basically, he tries to negate it. Yeah, good one, buddy. Out comes the Obelisk. He's only got 3,000 life points, and there's an 800 attack monster on the field. And he's dead. He thought I was baiting by trying to go to battle phase. He thought. Alright, next replay. So I think this one is a Numeron replay? I'm not sure. Because 3 of these are actually God card, and 3 of them are Numeron, for the most part. I think there's at least 1 of them that got mixed, but... It was actually really hard to get the mixed replays, because every time I got close to killing someone by trying to summon out a Ra or something, they just concede before I get to summon the Ra. Anyway. Alright, so yet again, another Cash Tier player. I have no idea why this deck's so popular. It's so odd, actually, considering it's not even that great of a deck. It's not the worst deck, but yeah. Alright, so we're gonna end on this end field. Thankfully, we've got a nice little, Harpie's Feather Duster for that one. And we've got a nice little Lightning Storm for the, other ones. Alright, Numeron Wall. Gonna be summoning out my dudes. And this was so sad, because this is gonna be one of those, a Ra replay. So now I can use this, search my Ra, use this card's effects, and attribute some of my Ra. It gains attack equal to the monsters that was used. It pays a bunch of life points, get like a billion attack, and then swing for lethal. But unfortunately, we got Ash, so I got ruined in my Ra replay. Yeah, Ra actually has a ton of synergy with Numeron. It's a bit win more, but yeah. So sadly, this isn't going to be lethal, because you need a monster for lethal for standard Numeron. We were really hoping that Ra would go off, but it's fine. We'll just summon out a Avramax instead, which is a really goddamn hard card for Cash Tier and out, because all their stuff is targeted as far as I know. This thing I'm pretty sure is targeted, and that's like, I don't know, the rank 7 that steals a monster is targeted. I don't even know if they have an out to Avramax. Other than just trying to deck you out. Because they do have one plane to Avramax, that's summon that annoying 0 attack monster in defense, because I can't beat over it, because Avramax gains attack based on the monster it swings into. So I actually can't out this thing currently. Alright. He's summoning back a Cash Tier. Summoning another Cash Tier. Just gonna have to go to battle phase, can't do anything else. Thankfully this is damage step, so he can't respond to these card effects. Alright. Grabbing another trap card. He runs 2 copies of this for some reason. Alright, banishing another one. Banishing a top 3. By the way, 2 Obelisk banned, which is really annoying, and 2 searches for Obelisk are be banished, which is really annoying. He then summons Underworld Goddess to get rid of the field, which I guess is something he can do. Thankfully, he used this card in response, so I can just banish the card I wanted to banish anyway, rather than saving this thing. Forced to draw 2. Alright, banishing 10. A second dimensional bishop. Alright, and we can just Numeron him here. Did get a pretty funny Numeron outcome here though, because I'm running a very particular card in here. 4 matchups just like this one. I summon out my Topologic Zeroboros, which not many people are playing in Numeron. This is sort of a me tech, because obviously 13 cards banished, this guy has 10 cards banished. this would absolutely obliterate him. Also, I knew the chance of this being imperm was really high, but doesn't matter because he's got 1,000 life points, so getting this, he's still dead. But I just want to show off the Zeroboros. This is a brilliant deck. There's a lot of decks that banish currently. Runic, that deck list, Kashtira. Telements does a little bit of banishing. Well, generally you banish a lot of their cards. Alright, third replay. Yeah, Dragon Link does some banishing. So, Zeroboros is pretty sick right now. Like, Telements also play, Snow, right? Snow banishes a shit ton. Alright, back to the Obelisk gameplay. Oh yeah. So this was, I sat here the entire time this turn being like, please be one of the Sword Soul players that tries to summon more than 2 monsters. Because their more standard combo is just Baron de Fleur with their 1 negate here and their 1 trap card set. They don't have a 3rd monster, and I need a 3rd monster, because then I can just smack this Obelisk straight on his face. Just dump it on him. Oh, so it turns out this guy was very, not too intelligent. So he summoned his Baron. Thankfully, had more place to go afterwards too. Summons his Sacred Dude, bring back the dude, blah 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 blah. I think he actually goes for another negate here. Yeah, Dragite. And sets 2. We're not too scared to set 2 against Sword Soul, because generally one of them requires a worm on the field, and the other one is the probably just Imperm or something. Alright, so activating this, I activated this purely to bait my opponent into trying to negate. He can't even negate this thing. I didn't even want to use its effect. I was going to use it in combination with Droplet. I was just hoping he would negate this, which thankfully he did. If he didn't negate this, he would have been completely fine. Alright, so I spawned with Droplet, getting rid of this to target the Baron. And now he has no negates left. I can tribute all 3 of his monsters. I think if he had the trap card that tributes off one of his dudes to pop my stuff, he would have been fine here, if he even had it. I don't know. Seemed kind of weird. Anyway, summoned out the Obelisk, all 3 of his monsters gone. And that's 4k damage straight to the dome. And we have a little bit of follow-up too, because if he somehow summons a monster I need to negate, I can Droplet it, then summon it back with Breaking Ruin God next turn. It'd be unaffected by everything that hit him in the face. Yeah, he's gone. Alright, on to the next one. So I think the next 2 are Numeron, and the final one's the Obelisk one. Or the Obelisk and Ra, actually. The final replay was such a cluster, actually. Alright. I tried to make sure, by the way, the Numeron replays showcased each of the different Link monsters. Because I don't think I actually got one replay or one gameplay during the, whatever it was, 90 games ever I played, where I actually killed someone by standard Numeron means of just hitting him with the 4 Xyz monsters. I think each of them I had to go into a Link 4. The thing with the Link 4 pool is pretty stacked, so make it untargetable, can make a thing that's immune to anything but targeting, can negate Graveyard. Yeah, some cool shit we can do. Very stacked pool. So I know a lot of people when they play Numeron, they like to play like 3 copies of each of the Numeron cards. I don't think that's right. I think it's just better to have a better Link 4 pool. There's so many Link 4s for different situations. You got monster negation, you've got banish stuff, you got if his opponent's got a big monster you need to get rid of, you got the thing that's like unaffected by anything but Exceed. There's so many good ones. But yeah. Alright, so pretty good hand versus Triple Back Row with double Lightning Storm. I'd prefer 1 Lightning Storm, but good enough. This poor guy too. He sort of played correctly. Sort of. So I Lightning Storm his field, activate my Numeron Call. He now could have used these things to remove this before I activated the effect of it, but he was trying to be a good boy and waiting for this thing's once per turn, since it is a once per turn. But in doing so, he allows me to hard draw get lucky and hard draw this card instead, so I could just activate it. And then for some reason he tries to banish this. I think he thinks that would stop this thing lurking. I don't know about that one, buddy. Not quite how that works. Alright. Summons out the Mekk-Knight. Summon out my 4 dudes. And then I'm just going to summon out an untargetable. I could have gone battle phase there and swung in, done a little bit of damage, but then I could only go for a Link 3 since he is going to banish something. So instead, I just summon the big dude. Since this deck list has a bit of trouble getting rid of it, I think their only actual non-target is the Exceed. Is this thing non-target actually? Actually, this thing's non-target as well, actually. There's just quite a few ways to out this thing. But thankfully, I don't think he drew any of them, if I recall. So very, very, slow end. Slow and painful death. Did draw the Ra combo with Soul Crossing though, so if he did get 3 monsters on field, I'd tribute them a lot, so. Alright. Final Numeron replay, and then we'll end with the final Obelisk replay. So this was against Punk, I believe. I love how Card of the Soul is actually a good way to search Obelisk. It's so funny seeing this card, because it was used occasionally in Duel Links for a couple of weird cards. Never to search Obelisk, though. The fact that Obelisk just happens to be 8,000 with 2 combined stats, it's actually so cool. Alright, so I'm going to max team my opponent, of course, making it very hard for him to play the game. Meaning all we can realistically end on is, like, 1 monster pass, which he chose, I think, Psychic and Punisher. Which isn't a bad option. But thankfully, we've got the Lightning Storm, we've got the Feather Duster, and we've also got an easy way to get rid of this unaffected monster. This thing's immune to like all card effects as long as his life points are more than me, or less than me. And I don't particularly want to try to swing into this thing and take 1 billion damage, so instead, we're just going to get rid of it, summon out Underworld Goddess, and he just concedes. It's a very quick one there, just wanted to show off the Goddess. Alright, final replay, back to the God cards. This replay was a bit of a long one, if I remember. So it was just sort of a bit of a waiting game for me. I was waiting for my opponent to do stuff. Alright, let's into some Cash Tira stuff. Thankfully we have the Maxx and he doesn't have the out. I should really start Maxxing at the start of people's turns, because everyone's playing these on... If there's so many people playing Cash Tira, it's so good to do so. Rather than waiting. Just missing out on a free draw. Alright, didn't hit any Numeron stuff, so can't really do a whole lot. Just gonna Lightning Storm. Use my Card of the Soul, grab my Obelisk. Set and pass. Not gonna summon the Obelisk here, because unfortunately this thing, even when this thing makes it unaffected, it doesn't make it unaffected from itself. So this thing still, when it's special summon, has to go to the graveyard then to turn, so it's a bit of a waste. And I kind of need it for my Soul Crossing, so I'm waiting for him to summon 3 monsters. If there's ever 3 monsters on the field, he's getting Soul Crossing. Right, Ancient Chant, go Mara. Now that I've got a target for Soul Crossing, I'm like, I'll just do a bit of damage with Obelisk. That way, if I draw another copy of this, I'll set up lethal for the following turn. Alright, so now we just wait. As soon as he summons 3 monsters, he's getting a fat Ra to the face. It's a shame we didn't get a replay of Ra doing the 6 billion damage in combination with Numeron combo, but you guys have probably seen that before anyway. And you saw I was about to do it in one of the previous replays, so... Alright, banishes my planet Pathfinder. Banishes 3, summons out the dude. 3 monsters on field, and there's a Ra. And he concedes immediately. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.